to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
Today, we're here to talk about the Apostle Thomas.
You mean Doubting Thomas?
Who was a twin?
Yes. All those things, but yet none of those things. I mean, not that those things aren't, well, his is wrong, but yours is not, as far as I'm aware.
We know
Thomas,
his name meant twin, but.
Thomas, also called Didymus.
But we've talked about Thomas before. Last spring, we talked about how he was fearless Thomas, because while everybody was locked in the upper room
For fear of the Jews.
He was... Oh, no, he was not there. So clearly he was somewhere else. Not necessarily in fear of the Jews.
We presume he was going to the arcade or something.
I'm sure that was it.
Mm-hmm. They loved they loved their skee ball back in first century Jerusalem.
Maybe he was out doing a grocery run. But recently I've heard a number of people talking about Thomas, and it always comes back around to Michael's comment.
Well, come on. We know like two things about him besides that he was a disciple. He doubted. His name is also Didymus, which means twin.
But and see, here's the thing. I don't think that the doubting part is fair.
Okay.
Tell me more.
That is the number one thing we know about him, so.
It is the number one thing that we know about him, and quite oftentimes it is the number one thing that everybody knows about him, and quite oftentimes they overlook a number of other things that happen in that very same segment of the Bible.
So let's look at how Thomas got a bad rap.
Okay, so here we are. We're in the Gospel of John.
It's a good place to be.
Chapter 20, so right near the end. And in verse 19, we start talking about the disciples in the upper room.
Yeah.
And when it was late, that same day, the first of the week, though the doors where the disciples gathered had been closed for fear of the Jews, many other Bibles refer to this as being locked. They'd secured themselves in. Jesus came and stood in their midst and said to them, "Peace be to you." And when he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side. The disciples therefore rejoiced at the sight of the Lord. He therefore said to them again, "Peace be to you. As the Father has sent me, I also send you." When he had said this, he breathed upon them and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. Whose sins you shall forgive, they are forgiven them, and whose sins you shall retain, they are retained." Now Thomas, this is verse 24 here, one of the 12, called the twin,
See?
was not with them when Jesus came.
There's an implied reference to skee ball. It's not explicit, but it's implied.
It's implied.
Is it better in the Greek?
The other disciples therefore said to him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger to the place of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." And after 8 days, his disciples were again inside, and Thomas with them. Jesus came, the doors being closed, and stood in their midst, and said, "Peace be to you." Then he said to Thomas, "Bring here thy finger, and see my hands, and bring here thy hand, and put it into my side, and be not unbelieving, but believing." Thomas answered and said to him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they who have not seen, and yet have believed."
And that's all of us.
It's all of us. Now, the evidence for everybody's concerns regarding him being a doubter, it's all right there. But I think that it's a little unjust, simply because they often go and ignore what happened in verse 20.
Yep.
Ooh, is that the one where he walked through the wall, therefore showing that in heaven everyone can walk through walls?
Nope, after that.
Okay, because that's my favorite.
But that is a pretty awesome part. I'm kind of geeked about that. And when he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side.
And we know from Luke 24 that the disciples who were leaving Jerusalem, they're talking about, well, some of our people have said that they've seen the risen Lord, but that doesn't make any sense.
Right. But so in this case, we've got these 11 disciples, well, 10 disciples,
10.
Who are all locked in this room for fear, as we discussed in the Thomas not being so fearful.
They did just see the boss get crucified.
Exactly, and it's still a touchy subject, but he comes to them and he shows them the holes in his hands and the wound in his side. So when they go and they tell Thomas, everybody looks at Thomas and says, well, he's the skeptic. He's the one who said, unless I can put my hands to it, it's not real. Mm-hmm. But to a certain extent, they've already gone there. Whether they went and touched or not is irrelevant because they at least got to see these things.
He only wanted the same standard of proof that everybody else did.
Exactly.
They'd seen the wounds in his hands and his side.
And for all we know, it was mentioned in the conversation that we saw the wounds in we saw Jesus. No, you couldn't have seen Jesus. Jesus died. No, he had that. We saw the holes in his hands and the wound in his side. Well, unless I see the holes in his hands.
Unless I've seen the same thing you've seen.
Oh, come on. You know, John and James were just like talking over each other about this. You know,
Sure. I saw it best. I saw it better than you did.
I saw it quicker than Peter.
So point number one.
Everyone runs faster than me.
I'm the old guy.
I'm not fast.
So point number one is that the burden of proof that he says he's looking for is one which is already documented as having been provided to everybody else. It's not like he's asking for some unreasonable thing. Unless I go and pull a hair out of his head and examine it to make sure it looks like this one I've been keeping in my wallet for a while.
Unless I want a DNA swab.
It's not creepy, guys. I've just been keeping hairs of the Lord.
Believe me, one day we'll all do this.
No,
I should get a fancy box for this.
So you can't accuse him of being a doubter because he wanted the exact same standard that everyone else had.
Right.
Okay.
Now, point number two, he never actually got around to doing the whole thing with touching and putting his finger in holes and
Jesus
hands
offered.
and sides. Jesus offered. But the moment he saw them, what was his response?
Hey, boss.
No, come on, Mike. I saw how you reacted to his response.
My Lord and my God.
Exactly. He responded with my Lord and my God, which, according to John's gospel at least, is the first time that anybody has, since the crucifixion at least, has identified Jesus as being God incarnate.
Explicitly, my Lord and my God.
So yeah, all the other ones, they rejoiced.
Woohoo!
Yeah, they saw Jesus, they saw his hands, they saw his side, and they're, whee! Yeah, Jesus, you're back, it's awesome.
I don't understand it, but I'm super happy.
Thomas, on the other hand, sees the exact same things that they saw, and immediately, any question that he had, beyond the level of certainty that he had as a disciple, is now gone. He's absolutely confident, not only that Jesus is everything that he said he is, but that he is everything he said he is, and possibly more.
So far from being a doubter, Thomas really believes here.
Yeah, he's so far the most solidly believing. This guy's ready to go to bat. Mm-hmm. So point number three, my final point on why we shouldn't give Thomas such a short end of the stick, if you will.
So same standard of evidence as everyone else.
Exactly. He's just asking for what everybody else got.
Unique declaration of faith.
The moment that he even got like remotely close to seeing what he was asking for, he was immediately committed. Mm-hmm. And not in the bad way. He was committed to the cause.
Yeah.
Number three, he proves it. In that, geographically speaking at least, Thomas went further than all the other apostles. I mean, you've got some, they went a little way. We were looking it up. A lot of them went to Greece. Mm-hmm. Peter went to Greece and then on to Rome.
A lot of them went to Anatolia.
Yeah.
Today's Turkey.
One of them we were reading about went down into Iran, or no, not Iran, Armenia, mm-hmm. and then back.
Mm-hmm. You had some go down to Ethiopia.
Yeah, but Thomas went all the way from Jerusalem through the Middle East and Asia,
through Persia
to India,
and not just like he got to the Indus River.
No,
he went all the way down the coast, where to this day there are still a group of native St. Thomas Christians.
Yeah. And only a few hundred years before this, he went past what would have been considered really the ends of the earth.
Farther than Alexander the Great's conquests had gone.
Exactly.
I mean, he did have a bunch of other people that are like, come on, we've been fighting for like decades now. We want to go home.
We've been doing this for 10 years.
I'm not even sure if my wife is still alive. Can I please just go back home?
Everything's swamp. Why is everything swamp?
We're getting off track.
Yes.
But Thomas went all that way and bore fruit, establishing a Christian community that long predates my ancestors believing in the gospel.
Yeah. So maybe next time you hear the mention of Thomas, let's not be so quick to snap that doubter bit in there, because fair, he had a little bit of skepticism, but his skepticism wasn't really all that far outside of the burden of proof that had been provided for all of the other of his contemporaries.
If you're going to call him doubting Thomas, then you've also got to talk about doubting Matthew and doubting Simon the Zealot.
Because they were all locked up in that room for fear that their heads were next on the block. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, once that burden of proof had even been remotely achieved, he didn't have to touch anything. He saw Jesus and said, I'm in. And then, being all in, he went all the way out to the farthest reaches and did exactly what he was sent to do.
Amen. So, when you hear, a homily preached on doubting Thomas, afterwards, in a very respectful, constructive way, just tell your priest or deacon that maybe he could do better.
Yeah.
He could talk about how this Bible passage talks about how we're going to be able to go through walls in heaven.
Seriously, talk about our awesome resurrection bodies.
Exactly.
That doesn't get preached on enough.
And most people look at you and are like, it's in the Bible!
Well,
and while you're at it, while you're telling him about how maybe he could do a little bit better, feel free to go and suggest to him that if he has not already done so, he should come watch our show.
The Popish Plot, it's a preaching resource.
That's right. We're here to help. We're here to help preachers get their preaching game back on.
I mean, I'm pretty sure all of us have been mentioned in some way in a homily at least once, so
At
there's
least once.
that.
There is that.
Usually in a favorable light.
At least as a cautionary tale.
So go down below. Maybe give us. We've been doing a lot of saints lately. We've been getting some requests for saints. We want more requests for saints. We like digging into saints and finding out more about them. So please go down below into the comments section and hit us up with a saint. Give us somebody that you would like, some holy person that you would like to know more about, and we will try and get them all in there. Mm-hmm. The church has got plenty of them. I think we'd have a hard time running out of them.
We're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses.
Exactly.
I mean, there are multiple ones for every day that are, official and known of.
Exactly. So go down there and do that. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button, the bell next to it, so you'll get notified when the next episode comes out. And also consider hitting the like button, because why not? And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.
Now the important question. Can we call Thomas's brother doubting? We hear nothing about him. But, in ye olden times, they don't mention, hey, his name is Twin if he didn't have a twin.
Oh, Thomas's brother was probably a deadbeat. I'm just saying, look, you've got...
Is Jude sometimes thought of as Thomas's brother?